Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Pound Ridge Library Board of Trustees meeting. Today is August 22nd, 2024. Okay, before I begin, we need a quorum count. Jennifer Savage.
Here.
Jenna Weiss.
Here.
Mary Ellen Walsh.
Here.
Ann Benefico.
Here.
Valerie Nelson.
Here.
Mike Clark.
Here.
John Cusino.
Present.
Okay, great. Thank you. We actually have everyone here, which is great. Oh, I'm sorry, Selena. Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry. Selena, we wish her the best, as you know, can't wait to hear the good news. So before we go on and approve the minutes, let's look at our calendars. It will be my last meeting and it will be three of us, not only just me, but three more members are not returning. Jennifer, Mary Ellen, myself, and Jenna is going to rerun again, but you know, one term is up and another term begins. So I would like to meet early, have a little farewell get-together party, invite the foundation, because I think some members are turning over, Jennifer, am I correct? Okay, but I think we should invite them anyway, usually this time of year with the foundation, because it's younger people on the foundation, school starts and stuff, commitments, and they tend to have some turnover. So it would be nice, I think, if we invite them too. Is everyone in agreement? Okay, great. So here, what date and how early can everyone meet?
When is the election for the new board?
So it's the 17th. They have to get sworn in. They usually, we should invite them too. Whoever gets in, I do believe that, well, you can talk about it, but, and that will be our last meeting because they usually get sworn in and October is the first time they start, and that's elections.
So you want this last meeting for you to be after the election?
Yes.
Got
Yes.
it.
So we can't do it. The 19th is a Thursday. That works for me. Or you guys tell me. We need to,
I
I'd like
can't
to
do it the
meet early.
following week, then I'm away for, yeah.
Oh,
so-
okay. So the 19th. How about the 18th? Oh. Jennifer? Jenna? Is all of September? Okay.
I mean, if you have to do it the following week, I'll say goodbye to you another time.
Well, you're also part of the children's. Yeah, the part of the children. Okay, so does the 19th work for everyone? John, Mike? Okay, since it's a Thursday. Perfect. Since it's a Thursday, how early can everyone meet? 5:30? And we start the meeting at 7:30? Well, you guys tell me, 6? 6. Yeah, okay, how about we do 6 and okay? And we start at 7:30. Okay, perfect. So it's the 19th, Jennifer, we're starting at 6 o'clock. Okay, perfect. Yes. Start. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion for July 23rd, 2024?
I make a motion to approve the July 2024 minutes. Anyone second it?
I'll second.
Great. All in favor? Great. Okay, moving right along. Buildings and grounds. I know Ken Gilman's not here. And so does anyone have an update?
Yeah, so everyone should have, or we can pull it up to Jennifer, I'm sure, the proposal from Lapino Landscaping. And this is to do some work on the edge of the driveway, including some trees. A tree did come down last week. Was it last week? That was removed quickly, so that's not in this proposal. But really to cut back the vegetation and do some grading and stuff along the edges of the driveway. $3,600 is the proposal. Wanted to know if there were any questions around it. Okay, so I'll make a motion that we approve the proposal by Lapino for $3,600 to do the work on the driveway leading to the neighbor's house.
I second.
And to all in
All.
favor? Great. So Lupino, I think he's pretty open. I think he told me he could start pretty much, right? Pretty soon. Okay, great. Okay, moving right along, we have Michael Clark, the treasurer. Okay, great. Treasurer's report.
Okay,
in
I
your
spent
packet.
some of this month giving information about our accounts to the auditors, and Mike Lewis was involved in that as well. I did already with our proposed warrants transfer $30,000 from savings to checking. We had a CD that was going to mature on September 1st. I have a question for the board about whether we should roll that over or not. Hold that in your mind. I established another CD, but believe me, Citibank is not Signature Bank. It's been a month, and they're saying that this week it will be financed. The money will be in there, and that will mature. They're only giving 3-month CDs these times. My question is, I'd like to start laddering the CDs, and so I thought maybe 350,000 to renew might be a little high, and I might do 200,000, and then in a month do another 200,000. As John and I were talking, there's threats of lowering interest rates, so I'd like to catch as many of the now 4.55 interest rates before they start dropping. Does anybody have a problem with that policy? Oh,
Looking at the numbers, which we can talk about, we don't have to decide now. But right, our funding is 7 something, right? 775, let's call it round numbers, to fund the current operations, which we already have covered, right? If those are all individual balances, right? So I mean, another place to think about is we could kick it over to Barry and put it into some kind of money market, very liquid something or other. If it's money we're not tapping into, right? It won't be anything permanent. It could be a very liquid kind of thing, but it's just another option. This way you won't have to maybe keep rolling it or monitoring it or doing that if we put in some kind of money market fund. Something to think about. We can talk about it afterwards.
Yeah. That reminds me that the only thing to keep in mind, the board had established that we needed to have $500,000 of liquid assets for emergency use. So if you look at our savings in Chase and our savings in Key Bank, which is also immediately available, we're still well over the 500,000 cutoff. So we're good there. But I'll explore that with you, John, and then with Barry.
Hey, Mike, I had another question. At several meetings now, I would say I've heard you complain about Chase. And I know that we had no choice, right, to put our money somewhere with Signature failing. And I was just wondering, have you guys given any thought to somebody? I know we did Key as a second backup, but have we thought through whether there's another alternative that might be someone that's just easier to deal with? I think when you go to the cities and the Chases and the largest banks, we're a small, person in their world, and they don't give us as much hand-holding as some of the mid-sized banks. And I know there's risk, obviously there's risk with any of these, but I just wondering if it's something you guys have thought through.
It hasn't been explored because it's really still getting to know Chase. But I agree with you. I think something in the level of just the dealings that I've had with KeyBank are on a much, much better level than Chase. My own personal experience with Citibank is that I wouldn't want to go there. I think that's worth exploring. Good. I'll take a survey of banks of the KeyBank ilk. I think what we wanted to do was diversify. So,
Right, exactly. So if
yeah.
you think of the M&Ts, the TDs, the Citizens, right? These are all smaller, mid-sized banks.
Good.
That might, and I'm gonna, now I'll have to disclose that I'm starting a job at Citizens in a couple of weeks. So I'm not suggesting Citizens for that reason. That's why I didn't tell you all about Capital One when I was there. But anyways, just something to think about.
I
you
think
know,
what
on
we
the
should do, we'll start
mid-size.
off with setting up criteria for what the bank should offer, and its ratings and its, and then
Yep.
go from there. Thank you. Yep.
Okay, great. So you two will work on maybe money markets and exploring other banks. Okay, great. Okay, moving right along. I don't know if Mike Lewis is here, but Jeff Schaffner is here from PKFOC. He's our audit. He's been with us before. Welcome back. And he's going to give his report. I don't know if you guys all looked at it. I've gone through this, many times, so I'm familiar with the audits, but if you're not, it's quite interesting. So you have the floor. I'm sorry, maybe he should stand or sit here. This way the computer can pick him up. Okay, I'm sorry. Do you look at yourself in the mirror there in the yeah. Oh. Yeah, do you mind?
How's
Yeah.
this?
Perfect. It's better.
Okay.
This way people
You
can
need to
catch
move-
you.
If you need to move, just let me know. Good evening. Thanks for the introduction. Again, my name is Jeff Shaver. I'm a partner with PKF O'Connor Davies. Happy to be here to present the draft results of the audit for the fiscal year ended December 31st, 2023. There's just, I think, one miscellaneous open item outstanding, and then we can send what's known as the management representation letter, which is required for signature, and then we can, release the report as final. Assuming, of course, everyone, there's no questions or changes that need to come up, need to be made as a result of this presentation.
I have a question. Who needs to give you that information? That's the one missing item.
I'm not sure. It's a collateral statement from Chase Bank.
So who
So-
needs that? Mike?
So, my banker is in Maine, and I spent an hour with Chase going to their various departments, and eventually they would say, "Oh yeah, that's very interesting," and then hang up. So I know that we are collateralized with JP Morgan, but I don't have the exact details, and as soon as Maine returns, I will know.
So just, you talked about banking before and safety of your assets. General municipal law requires that all the bank deposits that any municipality has in excess of FDIC insurance coverage be covered with some sort of collateral. And that's what the collateral statement proves out. It says, it would be your total bank balances, and we're looking for the balance sheet date, December 31st, 2023. They would have an allowance for FDIC, and the remaining balances need to be covered by that collateral to show that if, I know it's unlikely, if Chase were to fail, like Signature almost failed, your funds would be safe and secure. So that's really, it's a standard request, something that we look at all.
Would Mike Lewis or Jennifer, would you have it in the records on the computer?
If we kept our balances at 250 or whatever that's the number, isn't it?
Yeah.
250. So to avoid this issue, if we kept it at 200, 250,
You
like
wouldn't
I
need it.
said, if I moved money to a money market or outside of that, right, that would be different. I wouldn't need that collateral
So-
clause there.
It's only for bank deposits. So
Right.
if you moved it to another allowable investment security, it wouldn't be required. The only other thing I'll say is general municipal law is a little restrictive on where you can put your funds. You folks are a little interesting, I would say, in that you were gifted funds years ago, many years ago, and I don't think some of the records are pretty old, and I did look at them. They're hard to read because they're so old. And the reason why you're allowed to invest those funds in the municipal securities that you have them in is because they were gifted to you. So it's kind of like what I would call almost a loophole in general municipal law, that if you're gifted funds, you can kind of choose how to invest them, or you're allowed to invest them. But typically, general municipal law limits you to bank deposits, U.S. Treasury securities, certificates of deposit, certain external investment pools, which would serve the purpose of a money market mutual fund. But specifically, mutual funds are not allowable under general municipal law. So there's certainly avenues you could take and opportunities that you do have. Just be careful to check with your attorneys that you're not running afoul of any of the law before you go ahead and do that, would be my only advice.
So keeping that in mind, because we don't have staff of attorneys in this specialty, these are our two finance guys who are staying on the board. Could they reach out to you and at any
Absolutely.
given time? And so you would guide them as to where they can and cannot invest
Yes.
our funds.
I'm not an attorney, but I could point you to the pieces of the law.
I'm going to demonstrate a little bit of ignorance by saying that my reading of the New York State law was that had evolved to become that you could do whatever any reasonable investor would do. That was the wording of the law.
We could talk about that. I'm not sure where exactly you saw that.
Okay,
I
good.
think that applies to your investment funds, like
Okay.
a prudent person type.
We'll continue that. Yeah.
So with that said, I kind of got off track here. I'm sorry. So here we have on the first page after the table of contents is the independent auditor's report. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you because I'm sure, you can sleep later. You don't need to sleep now. And this is essentially what is referred to as an unmodified opinion. It's also referred to as a clean opinion, and that's the most favorable opinion that you can receive. What it means, the numbers in the financial statements and the disclosures are complete and they're accurately stated. It doesn't mean that your numbers are favorable. It doesn't mean that they're not favorable. It just means that they're accurate and they're fairly stated. And that essentially is the point of an independent audit. And to come in and check for things like bank statements, collateral statements, and things like that. With that said, I'd like to take you through some of the highlights, and I'll start you on page 14. This is the general fund statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, budget and actual. You'll see it's a 4-column presentation. The first column is the original budget as adopted. The final budget would encompass any amendments or transfers to that budget. The third column is actual revenues and expenditures. And the fourth column is the variance between the final budget and the actual results. You can see in terms of revenues, the initial budget called for revenues of $805,000. That was revised upwards to $853,000, while the actual revenues were $902,000. So better than the budget by some $49,000. Most of that was related to the interest income earned on your investments and your cash deposits, and also the change in fair market value of those municipal bonds that you're invested in as the interest rates kind of swung down, or I'm sorry, they swung up so high in 22, you lost money, the yields. And 23 kind of did come back around. So there was some positive change in fair market value in 2023. On the expenditure side of the budget, the initial budget called for spending of $805,000. and that was revised upwards to 984,000 approximately. And the actual spending was just over $1 million. The big change, the reason why the change in the final budget and the actual being a little higher is a result of some of those capital projects you've been working on. The parking lot project was the biggest. And we also saw some expenditures related to some interior, smaller but interior renovations happen in 2023. So that's the reason why you overspent what you initially planned to spend of 804,000. So after taking your total revenues of 902,000 less your expenditures of 1,003,000, it brings you to a net loss for the year of just about $101,000. So the fund balance decreased, and that was, we started the year at 1,755,000, and you end the year at 1,654,000 of fund balance. I'll take you through the balance sheet, which is on page 10. This is the general fund balance sheet. You can see towards the bottom of the page, the total fund balance. Again, 1,654,000. It's comprised of these various components. And this is Governmental Accounting Standard Board requires us to categorize your fund balance into these components. The non-spendable fund balance is a piece of some of that donation funds that's required to be maintained intact. So that's the 143,000. The restricted funds are the other parts of the investment portfolio, the Woods maintenance, the Woods, and the Woods capital, which are in there. There's also I think it's called the General Endowment Fund or something along those lines, which is not legally restricted because no paperwork could be found saying that it was restricted unless somebody else has something different. But when we researched this a number of years ago, nobody was able to find anything on that specific piece. It falls into the unassigned category. That, along with your other funds, which are not restricted in any way, brings you to unassigned fund balance of 1,082,000. So that money is sometimes referred to as like a free and clear fund balance available for use at the discretion of the board. So that's kind of your surplus funds. And that brings you to your total fund balance of 1,654,000. It's really mostly in the form of cash and your investments. You can see at the top of the balance sheet assets, cash is really the 918,000, and your investments, which is your portfolio, just over $800,000. That's really what's going on. One thing I like to try to explain to boards is that all governments are required to do governmental fund statements, which is what I just presented to you, on the modified accrual basis of accounting. So we don't account for capital assets here in your general fund. When you spend money on parking lot renovations, it shows as a use of fund balance or an expenditure. We also have to present a statement of net position, which takes those assets and capitalizes them, similar to the way you would for like a nonprofit or for-profit entity. And that's what the statement of net position and the statement of activities does. It takes all your general fund assets and we add in your capital assets. And we'd also subtract out any long-term liabilities that the library has. In your case, you really don't have anything in the way of long-term liabilities, no debt outstanding or anything like that. There is a small amount of compensated absences or like accrued vacation leave for a few of your employees. It's about $2,000, so not really a very significant number. So that brings you to, if you're looking at the statement of net position, it's on page 8. It's related to the general fund, but a little different presentation. Shows you total net position of 2,596,000. So I'd just like to explain the difference between the two balance sheets in case some people ask me why are these different? Why am I looking at two different numbers? So that's really why. The note disclosures are pretty consistent with the prior year. Nothing really significant to discuss. No new accounting standards that you needed to adopt or anything of that nature. So everything's pretty much similar to the way we presented it in the prior year. That's really all the prepared remarks I had. If there's any questions. Further questions or comments? So it should be on the statement of net position. Like I said, in a general fund, you would not record a physical asset like that as an asset in the general fund. So it wouldn't, governmental accounting wouldn't allow you to put it in your general fund. However, I don't have the list in front of me, but it should be recorded in your capital assets. You're kind of referring to it almost like it's an investment, because when you treat an asset like an investment, you mark it to market. So the value of the real estate asset would go up and down, but it was never classified that way. And typically when a government picks that classification right off the bat, it was probably many, many years ago. Usually you just stick with that. From accounting perspective, I think you have to I think you have to keep it that way. I ran into a similar situation at a different client where a similar question came up. It was a very similar question. And we did some accounting research on it. And it turns out the accounting standards don't allow you to change that classification as soon as it's made. So you're kind of stuck with it from an accounting point of view, but it doesn't mean you couldn't change the use of it. The board could certainly do whatever it wants to. That's just an accounting thing. Yeah, just not the accounting, no. Um, I would, the land, it should be depreciated, the building part of it, the land, no, it should not, it would be part of the non-depreciable assets. It possibly, you're not carrying any land. So I would imagine, I'm not sure if this goes back so many years, if it was donated or the book value could very well be zero. Sometimes this kind of stuff does come up because most local governments have assets that are very old. It's common. It's good to take the list that you have and check it to make sure it's a current list, especially like equipment and stuff like that, and any vehicles that the library owns or anything like that, to make sure that list is appropriate and it has everything listed out. It's possible something could not be on the list that belongs, or maybe things were accumulated and presented as one when it really should be two or three or whatever the case may be. It's probably a lot of these records are very, very old, and municipalities have to do the best they can with segregating that kind of information. Okay, so what I remember, I believe those were capitalized off my memory. Should, there's a list of the assets in detail and the depreciation by each. So yeah, it certainly exists. I looked at it not too long ago.
Just a question, timing, is this late or when would you like to do this in general? It feels like it's a little bit later than it had been in the past.
We'd like to be here by the summer. That's really up to the board. We've typically scheduled the audit in February. And we did that again this year. And I think some of the information just dragged that we needed. And whether that was partially our fault or partially, on your side or whoever, I'm not sure whose, but, partially on your side, partially on our side, things kind of dragged. Until honestly, Jennifer called me about a month ago. She said, "Hey, what's going on here?" And I said, "You know what? You're right." And I kind of thought to myself, we got to get on this. So we kind of expedited at that point. Now, what I would say is, if everything was ready for us when we got here and we could be handed all this stuff and didn't have to wait, 1 week would be plenty of time. Because honestly, there's not really a lot of information. We could be done very quickly. If we have to wait for items, it just takes us longer because we're scheduled every single week. All our people are out there and every single week we're scheduled on a different audit. So it's hard to put that down and pick up a different, the old client, if you will, to get it done. So when something's not ready, when we get there, it gets a little harder for us. With that said, if the board would like it sooner, I would commit to, working with, your folks to make sure we get it done sooner. I think June is a reasonable timeline. I don't know how anyone else feels. Absolutely.
By doing the audit, that we did a big undertaking. I can assure you that our records were not great. Jennifer and I were down in that closet downstairs where it was mice infested, and we pulled out boxes, and Jennifer worked very, very hard. And so now we have everything computerized, and our records will be much easier to find now. We don't have to go through boxes laden with God only knows. And that one information, the piece of information that you're missing, we're gonna look for it. We're gonna follow through. Any other questions?
No, just a comment. I heard about this requirement.
I heard about this requirement last week. So probably in February, there was a list that was circulated maybe as so. I'll look to chase that down better. Thank you. Sorry about that.
And part of it could be maybe for next year, we include you in the initial list. Yeah. Michael and Heidi would be, doing a lot of the bulk of the accounting stuff.
Yeah.
We would ask for them. And if we leave Jennifer off, it was probably a mistake.
Yeah, so
I'm not
always
sure if we
include
did it.
Jennifer, and Jennifer will pass it on to the finance people. Again, I can't tell you in October who that's going to be, but we definitely have people who've been on the board and will continue on the board.
Yeah, I'll just comment on purely client side, right? I think it was delayed, whether that was on our side or the other side. One, we want to hear about it. If it was our side, we can kind of get things moving. And I don't know what's going on if it was on your side for that delay. I think for the next audit, it would be good to just lay out a timeline,
Yeah.
right? You're going to give us the initial, I assume it's the data request in February, right? We'll put together all the materials by this date. And then, we'll get back to you if we don't, achieve that, then we know who it's on, and then you can lay it out a little bit more, and hopefully it might be easier for you for staffing,
Yeah.
whatever it is to, so there's not a scramble at the end. But we'll commit to keeping an eye on it if you can commit on the other side
I
instead
will.
of timeline.
I will.
Okay, that being said, are there any other questions from the board? No, I know it's a lot to digest, but it's pretty accurate. We've used PF O'Connor and Davies this is our 7th year, I believe, 6 or 7 years. So They're familiar with us. They know our records. They know how to get them. And so,
I just have a curiosity question.
sure.
There's a lot of big numbers on this, and then I see this little number, accounts receivable. Is it $113? What is that?
What page?
On a few pages on page 10, under the general fund balance sheet. You see the little num-
Unfortunately, I don't have a great answer for you
Okay.
because
So-
I
so-
focus on the big numbers.
Okay.
It's
I-
that overdue book that you haven't returned yet,
Okay.
Ann.
I can't, I could get back to you, but I just don't know off my head.
So what's state aid? What is that?
Most libraries, Jennifer might be able to describe it better. Most libraries get a piece of state aid. Yeah,
Yeah,
every
state aid.
year.
Thank you.
It's,
Any other questions? No, so what, I think we should have approval, and then when we get the accepted piece of paper over, this way we don't hold anyone up and we don't hold anything for the next month. So, do I have a motion for that?
I make a motion that we approve the audit report as issued, knowing that we have one outstanding document from Chase.
Do I have a
second it.
second? Second. All in favor? Great. Thank you very much. We will definitely get that one piece of information to you. And you have all our emails, including Mike and John. If you don't, just get them and include them all on this. Okay?
absolutely.
It was great working with you.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Jeff. Thank you.
Okay, moving right along, guys. The warrants. I had one question that Jennifer, I so sorry I didn't email sooner, but you know me, the charge point, the EV charging station. You guys were all here when we did the parking lot. Unbeknownst to Jennifer and I, there is a charge, a 3-year plan, unbeknownst to me, and unbeknownst to Jennifer, we, as you know, had to find, and we worked with our contractor to find EV charging stations that were less expensive than our original quotes. It's in our Dropbox. The explanation was way beyond, its pages. But I guess there's components to this that I had no idea that I need servicing and everything. It makes sense, but certainly I know you divide it by 3, but here's another example where the charging station, and where I don't think it's getting used as much as I honestly.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah,
Do we know what
not. Well,
the
it is.
the
if you-
income is from it?
Yeah, if you go into the budget. I don't know if we have, but every month it's,
Questions about that charge point.
well, again, it's the planning board, and I'm not saying anything against them at all. It was the prudent thing to do. But in order to get the lights and everything, they did want us to put one in, and I'm not saying it's not being used, and we are, a place where we offer services to the community, and this is a service to the community. So we're certainly not making money on it. But, so that's what the charge is. Just so everyone knows. You won't see it for another 3 years, so you won't be on the board, but I was pretty taken back.
That amount actually included taxes, so you can back out $300.
So,
I think it's 500 total.
total, right? Yeah,
the year.
So, but you know what?
Right through July.
As we get further on with this EV charging station and more people get vehicles like that, we probably will turn it around. Of course, with our luck, the snowplow will hit it. No, I'm kidding. But I've seen that happen actually, where a snowplow bangs into it. But ours is further enough, by the way. That was a joke, bad joke.
Curiosity question. We have overdrive and there's a bill. What is hoopla? And why is there no bill?
We don't get charged for hoopla. It's something that we pay. It's split between all of the libraries, and you'll see it as it's prorated among all the libraries. It's about $800 for all of those shared digital resources.
Thanks.
Great. Any other questions on warrants before we approve them? No, okay.
Sorry, just an adjustment.
Yeah.
Philip Coyle was written down for 75. It's actually 375. We're taking the tax off of the charge point. So the new total is 38,078.19.
Okay, do I have a motion for 38,078.19?
I make a motion to approve the warrants in the amount of 38,078.19.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Great, approved. And Mike, you will,
Well covered by our current checking
and how about
account.
for payroll?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Still well.
Okay, great. Okay, committee updates, John. Well, we had a nice finance committee update, but go ahead.
No further updates.
Great. Mike, monetary gifts to the library policy.
Well, okay, I'll talk about it. I think it's gone through a lot of different iterations. And I took the time to kind of look through what's on the website in terms of the current. And now looking at what we're trying to accomplish here, I think I understand what we're trying to do, which is to try and maintain control of any donations that we have. What I am sensitive to is that I think perhaps it's a little bit of an overreaction to the challenges that we've had recently, because what we've done is excluded any mention of the foundation whatsoever. So that seems to be not to our benefit. I think that there's no harm in mentioning to the foundation that we're getting some donations. I think Jennifer probably keeps a spreadsheet, and it would be a very easy task to just periodically tell the foundation, here we are also getting foundations. We're getting donations. And so I don't see the harm in that. And I think there's a benefit. I think I'd like to keep our channels open with the foundation. I think given all that's happened, they've ended up being very generous and flexible. And I'd like to keep talking with them. And I think it somewhere should be in our monetary policy.
Comments?
Yeah, look, I think I have a couple of points. First of all, our meetings are public. Our budget is public. All receipts of donations are public. The foundation often attends meetings, so they will therefore be aware of what donations are made. And I don't like writing a policy that requires an action that we could screw up if it's not necessary. And so I just am hesitant to put in a policy that someone has to notify someone else because the chance of it getting missed is great. And I just don't see it as necessary because everything we do is public. And so therefore the foundation has absolute knowledge of what we get and why, just by reading minutes and just by attending meetings, et cetera.
John, you have a comment?
I mean, I concur with what Val is saying. I think the policy is written for this institution. It's written in a flexible way, so we can take donations from anybody. If we take donations from the Library Foundation, if we take donations from me, from anybody, it doesn't matter. It's treated all the same. And, you know, I really think it's about putting obligations on us, whether they're harmless or not. I don't really see what the benefit is of saying we'll communicate to them what the donations are. I don't know what that gets them or does for us, except require it. And let's understand, right? The Library Foundation exists to help the library. That's fine. That doesn't have anything to do with us. Our library is going to exist whether there's a foundation or not. So, you know, referencing it in our policies and, you know, I just don't see the connection there. It has, and I also don't want to tie these two things up. This doesn't say we can't talk to the foundation. It doesn't say anything about relations to the foundation at all, or to any group that wants to give us, wants to contribute to the community, via the library. I think it's a very open policy, very flexible, and I don't think we should tie it up with our relationship or how we interact with the foundation or any other organization.
Jenna?
Yeah, I liked that the point about like not soliciting funds is clear. Like, I think there's a difference between, you know what I mean? Like having something on the menu and promoting it versus like special moments, I think, where people might genuinely only want to give sizable maybe donations to the library for certain reasons, maybe their own comfort levels. I don't know. I just wanted to point out that piece. I'm comfortable with that language.
Well,
because of the solicitation.
If I could just respond, I understand everything that's been said. The way it appears, it's not a question of not including them. It's that we're cutting them out of our current policy. And we all understand the reasons that's been explained. But I think that other people and future boards could, in some way, it has the appearance that we're trying to compete with the foundation for donations if we do not mention them in this policy.
and
Yeah, I have to disagree, Mike. I don't think the foundation needs to be mentioned at all in our policy. They might not even exist in a year. I mean, I don't think they have really, I think, like what Valerie said, and if they're interested, they can come to our meetings. Everything is public. I don't, I guess what was it there before in the original policy, the foundation? Okay. I liked it the way it was written. I read it today.
So if you look at the original policy, not only was it required to report them,
Oh, right.
there
I
was
remember that.
there was
I
a
recall.
statement saying that we should inform the donor that,
remember all
and,
that
and
now.
I don't agree with that part at all. But I personally would think that it's not a heavy requirement and that it keeps channels open with the foundation. So that's my view of this.
We added something that's just like, we recognize that the foundation, like as operating as of, is able to like actively solicit funds. What if we just recognize their existence and that they're able to like fundraise? Do you think that would be a bridge?
What does that have to do with our monetary policy is my question.
It also means that when the foundation doesn't exist in a year, I have to change the policy, or the foundation changes their name to the Friends of the Library, I have to change my policy. Like it's just a governance thing for me. Anytime you have something in your policy that hinges on something else, it just means someone has to be responsible to make sure it happens, or you violated your policy. So I just generally have a rule in all policies that I draft that they should be simple. They should cover exactly what you're trying to say, and they shouldn't add things that someone has to keep track of if we don't need to. Obviously, there's times you have no choice, right? But if you don't need to because it doesn't add value to the policy, then I just don't understand why you would add another statement of something that someone has to do.
I'll just give several examples where we've had discussions here at the board and, oh, are we going to do this? And, oh, if the foundation pays for it. So if that isn't monetary policy that they're included in, I think that we consider them part of our monetary policy.
I hear
It
you,
could-
Mike. I have a lot of history on this board. And when I first joined this board 7 years ago, the foundation unfortunately was not up and running and operating. And it took really a group of very dedicated individuals to get it operating again. They had to hire accountants and everything else. And so, it's like everything. They're a volunteer organization. If you get our supervisor's newsletter, that volunteers are becoming very scarce in this town. And I'm not saying that the foundation won't exist, but there is that possibility. And again, they were dormant. They were dormant for years and they just resurrected, and they've got a great group now headed by Stephanie. But we don't know what that foundation is going to look like in 5 years from now. We just don't know if it's going to be, if they decide not to fundraise and spend all their money. We just don't know. And that's my only concern. And I also think, we offer a lot more than we did when these monetary policy was existed. And we now offer our own programming. We now offer, programming that people are very interested in. We now offer passports. And so I know people are so appreciative that they might drop, and they do drop off $50 or $100 check to us, and should, that's how I feel.
Yeah, I would go back to, I like the way Val proposed. The policy is there for just this organization. Mentioning a third-party organization that we don't control doesn't belong in our policy. It has nothing to do with us. If they went away, we'd have to, why are we adjusting our policy around that? The fact that we would say we're not doing it unless the foundation, it doesn't, I'll take money from anybody. If whoever wants to walk in here and pay for a new roof or pay for the children's room or whatever, it doesn't matter, and our policy will cover it as written. It doesn't have to be from the library. They're the ones that put themselves in existence here and wanted to participate and wanted to do it, which I think is why we mentioned it. But we're going to proceed with things without their, their approval.
Think of it this way, there are many things that we've had donated while we've all been on the board. Maybe we're not aware of it, but I can give you 2 examples. One is the bench out there. One is all the trees, those little saplings that were planted out front and everything. I mean, some of them unfortunately didn't make it, but a lot of them did. And so the art installation. And so we've had a lot of donations. It may not look it until you really think about it, but we've had. And prior to our renovation, you noticed like the quilt and everything. Over the years, we've gotten a lot of those donations. You go by the trees and they're dedicated. And so, we've accepted, and not that we didn't tell the foundation we're a public organization, but this is what happens in this.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say something very similar to what everybody said. And if we are accepting donations from anyone, that would mean that in all fairness, the policy should say we have to inform everyone, right? Because the foundation is just one possible donor. And I don't know why they're called out when, whoever donated the bench isn't called out and anybody else is called out. So, but I understand, Mike, from a relationship standpoint and not wanting to ruffle feathers and things like that, because it is an important relationship. But I mean, maybe that can be, figured out elsewhere because
so I understand completely in
Right.
terms of controls. I don't quite accept the arguments about, well, anybody can accept because of what you said, a relationship. This is a foundation. And so I would like to consider that we have a relationship with them that's different than somebody else just donating, walking in and giving $50. I think that the foundation relationship should be different. If it went through troubled times, it's not troubled now. And so I think that's an opportunity for us to build the relationship with them. So what I had added was a line that we would notify them of some donations. It could be periodic, it could be annual, it could be anything. I don't think that's a tedious requirement. I think that it's perfectly appropriate to continue our relationship with the foundation.
Well, I hear you, and I think we've all said what we wanted to say. So now it's a matter of voting, and
I just want to, excuse me. I just want to understand you, Mike. You think, so what you're saying is, if we did it like periodically, let them know other donations that came in. And by notifying them, are we kind of saying that would determine what they would give us then, or what they wouldn't give us? I don't, why do we have to, what's the reason that we would let them know?
I think the reason that we would let them know is to say, hey, we're here working with you. I think it might give them some ideas in terms of resources for themselves if they're working together. So I think there's some benefit to us in terms of keeping the relationship, and there's probably some benefit to them to have that kind of information.
I don't see what the benefit it would be to them. I just am afraid that it's riddled with problems, that we're committing to something that if we can't deliver, we're in trouble. Just
I'm
don't need
going to make a
do.
motion that we accept the policy as we drafted and it's sitting in your box without the additional language.
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Mike, make the record known. Thank you. Anything else, Mike?
I think that was it. Yes, thanks.
Governess?
The only thing I'm going to share is I'm going to send around the bylaws. Jennifer and I've looked at all of the list of policies, everything's been updated, I think, in a fairly reasonable last few years, except the bylaws. So the next big swag is going to be trying to make some changes to the bylaws. I know one area that we talked about in the past that I'd love everyone to focus on is the attendance requirements for trustees. So the only requirement right now is you can't miss more than 3 meetings in a row unless you have an acceptable excuse. The board accepts your excuse. And so I think we just need to discuss, is that the thing, the 3 in a row, or is it 3 total, or is it, whatever. But I think it's something that we should talk about. I can't think of any other section that I think needs a lot of work because we did write those bylaws in the last few years. But it is something we should review periodically. So I'll send those around to everybody.
Great.
Yes, thank you. I thought it was interesting. I could not find the 2-year terms. I could only find that they mentioned 3-year terms. So that's another section I'd like to look at.
Okay, Jenna?
Can I just interrupt? I want to go back to, I know we made a motion to approve. When is that policy up for review again, the monetary? Is there? Okay, I think.
2 years?
it-
5 years? Yeah, I said 2.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah.
So then that, okay, yeah, that's a long time. Okay. Okay. Just in case
Yeah.
Mike wanted to review it again.
No, I mean, Valerie's right. I mean, just because we say 5 years, if things change, you can go back next year and review it. It has nothing to do, but that's when, if you don't do anything to a policy, that's when you need to review it.
Okay, all right.
I just hate to have them all 2 years because that is a lot of work. So if it's a policy that just doesn't have I think our hours, I think I might have done 5 years as well, right? Like, if it's not something that needs a regular review, then why review it annually or every 2 years?
Okay. Jenna, and I know Neil might want to talk as well. But Neil, well, the recorder, Jenna. Public relations.
Why don't we have Neil kick us off? Did he want to talk? Or?
Maybe he'd like to tell us what's happening. I know there was a nice party.
Well, the quick update from our side is that we are looking into advertising, which is very exciting. The first 4 print issues of the recorder are going to the community free of charge. So we feel like now is a really advantageous time to advertise because everyone's going to get a copy. They want to be front and center. And Jennifer was inquiring after we kind of connected about the right units to run about just like pricing and structure of all that. So we'll get back to everyone, but we're going to be proceeding with that. We're not going to go the biggest, we're not going to go the smallest. We're going to be somewhere right in the middle with how we show up.
And I know, so it's on Facebook. Our very own Dina from the market catered their kickoff party. And I believe it's supposed to be in print with a month, but I thought Neil maybe would talk.
Do you need approval, Jenna, not knowing the ad prices today, just because we won't be here before you have to do the ad, or is it small enough that it doesn't matter? Well, no, but normally you would approve it before you guys spend the money typically, sorry.
Well, typically isn't remind me, our Jennifer's discretionary amount, isn't that?
That's what I'm saying, that's why I asked, is if it's less than our discretionary amount, then I don't care about it. 1,500.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be
Okay.
correct? Yeah, right, Jennifer, or correct me if I'm mistaken, your conversations are more recent.
But that's why I'm asking. If you
Yeah,
think
I
you
think-
need more, I'd rather us approve it so that you don't feel like, oh, I didn't take an ad out because I didn't have the money.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be 1,200 per
First week
ad,
after
but
Labor Day.
I think, because it's
After
gonna
Labor
be,
Day.
because it's gonna be front loaded into September, right? Like most of the expenses, I think maybe we could agree and then that can be the price. And if they'd like to graciously work with us on the price. you
Yeah, I
know,
just would
then-
rather give you a
Yeah,
dollar amount if
agree.
it's over the 1,500, just so again, you don't feel like your, arms are, or you don't feel like you either violate the policy or you don't do an ad that you think
Yeah.
is important. How do people feel about that? All right, so I'll make a motion that we approve up to $5,000 to take out ads in the new recorder.
Second.
All in favor? Great.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Valerie.
Jenna, anything else?
No, that's really our focus. We're just excited for the recorder to be up and running and to have deep roots with them.
We are. Thank you. Thank you very much, Neil, for getting back to us. Program development, Selena's not here. Does anyone have any updates that they want to talk about? No?
There's one very positive thing that I noticed that is not really readily apparent if you look at the statistics, which is that we spent a lot of money to do a refresh for the library and the Schaffner room. And actually, I think it's paying dividends. If you look at the library use from August 2023 to August 2024, there's about a 20% increase in books taken out, and the amount of digital content that's taken out is doubled in that 1 year. So congratulations, excellent work.
Thank you, Jennifer, Alan, and to the staff. And really, it's great. Thank you again. Okay, Anne, Human Resources.
No update.
Okay, long range planning, John.
No update.
Oh, my favorite thing, the children's room, Jennifer,
We
the
just
rug issues,
we just have to approve new carpet.
the rug issues.
The rug issues. So I know you looked at it, right? I'm gonna look at it when we have a break here. Oh, I didn't know. Okay, great. So I'll look at that today and then hopefully we'll have everything chosen after that, which is really exciting. So why wouldn't we order the chairs now? Just to wait for the carpet and
Well,
everything?
I would order them if you're really
Yeah.
afraid, because I know Wayfair and
think
those
so
kind of
too.
companies, they do go out of stock quickly.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
all
we
in
already approved the
budget.
80,000.
Yeah,
We
it's all in the
approved the
approved
total
budget.
budget, Jennifer, so
Well-
we don't need that.
We still have,
Spend it.
we're waiting for a few more upholstery samples. So Jennifer, when
Okay.
you go to the back, not only there's carpet, there's the Wayfair upholstery. So once we pick, then
Yeah.
you can go.
Let's order.
Yeah, so we approved, Jennifer, I believe, up to $80,000. So you work with your committee and you guys should really do the ordering of when you see fit. We do have space downstairs. So, if that's what you think is necessary. Well, that's for you and your committee. I mean, if you guys want to piecemeal it, if you guys want to do, put everything at once, that's for your committee.
I definitely think we should order them though.
Yeah, I agree. I think the board agrees. Okay, and thank you. That's exciting news around here. Okay, parking improvement.
Well, this is exciting too, Bonnie. So 2 updates. One that's listed here, the striping is going to take place on Monday. So we will have lines again, which is very exciting. Yes. And then the only other thing that I'll share, Ann and I on the committee, and Mike joined us for a meeting with the town engineer and our traffic study engineer to have a discussion about the traffic report. It only took, oh God, are we almost at a year to make that meeting happen? And the good news is that at least the town engineer shared things that he thought were needed to improve the report. I met with the engineer afterwards and we believe a lot was in there, but he's going to embellish it. I gave him a little bit of time. I'm going to get back to him because this is at no cost. So I'm going to see if he's updated it. And then I think the next discussion is what do we do with it, right? Which we have to have. But hopefully we'll have an updated report. I hope before the next meeting, if not the one after that.
Just so everyone knows, the striping is being done by Lawrence Construction. They're the ones that did our lighting. I thought they worked very well with us. And if anyone goes to the parking lot, I can't even tell what the striping is. So hopefully, once we get the striping done, maybe we'll be able to remove some of those no parking ropes, signs, whatever, because when the snow comes, as our town guys have told us, we can't have that out. It will wreck their equipment and it impedes on them. And they'll knock it down and break it, but they don't want it out when it snows.
And I digress just a little bit. I don't know if anyone noticed, but we had asked Ken Gilman to paint a white stripe on the steps, and that was done. I don't know if any of you noticed it.
Yeah,
It looks good.
It looks good, and I think it's a safety issue. You know, and I think at some point this board should also look at there's a couple steps I noticed that are like cracking a little bit, a couple of the stones. And if you do have a stroller or a walker or cane, you can get caught. So I think we're going into the winter. It's not the time to do it, but I think next spring, who's ever on the board and in charge of that, I think that's something that you should revisit. You should visit. Because it's, cracks only get worse in the winter. And, check that walkway to make sure it's even, because sometimes in the winter it heaves and it doesn't go back down. Okay. Director's report.
Give me a moment to share the screen. Okay, in November, the New York Library Association is having a conference that I would very much like to attend. It's in balmy Syracuse in the winter.
Oh God, did they have to do that to you?
Uh,
Couldn't
it's
it be
gonna-
in the Hamptons in the summer?
The year that I went previously was just over in SUNY, in Valhalla. So unfortunately, this one's going to be a real trek. But they are in the middle of making a huge comeback. They put a lot of money, a lot of effort, and I really want to be there to support their efforts and to take advantage of all the fantastic things that are going on there. So I would be leaving work on a Wednesday afternoon to get a train to go up and stay through Saturday.
Jennifer, enjoy yourself.
You don't want to get through the costs or anything. The total is going to be about $1,000.
I had kind of thought we approved, you had asked about this a while ago and we approved it.
One in September. It was the
Oh, that's a
it's different one. Okay.
rural and small libraries. But once I looked at their lineup, I wasn't as excited
Got
as
it.
Okay.
Okay. So
All right,
we didn't
right.
spend that money that we had approved then.
we did not.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. That was
Replace them.
easy. Okay, the second one's not as easy. I'm going to take you to the outsourcing of IT. If you just
This is
bear
in your
with
white
me on that.
folder. I helped Jennifer put it together. She put a lot of work. If there's
Yes,
a
and
page or
thank you to
two
Bonnie.
missing, no, you're welcome. If there's a page or two missing, it's on me.
Okay, so as you all know, every year we sign an SLA or service level agreement with WLS to provide our IT. WLS provides the following services at a cost of about $40,000 a year. That's ILS, that's our connection to the mainframe and our ability to check in and check out books and share books with other libraries. So that's a service that we're required to keep. But they also do network managed service, device support and maintenance, wireless managed services, and email maintenance support. You can refer to tab 2 in your folders there if you want to get more detailed explanation of what each of those are. This is an a la carte menu, so we can choose to keep some, none, or all of those, which I think is a great benefit. So why consider outsourcing IT? Computers are being leased to us at a cost of $1,000 per computer per year. That's $5,000 for a Dell computer over 5 years. And the prices have been and will continue to increase by $100 a year. And that's why I've chosen to investigate alternatives. Uh,
I just said, so
absolutely.
the computers that everyone uses
Mhm.
are leased
Correct.
from WLS?
Correct.
Thank you.
So just to run through them one at a time, the pros and cons of staying with WLS for IT. The pros are that they are a known quantity. They're dedicated to Westchester libraries. They're not exorbitantly overcharging, as you can see here. They're pretty much in line with industry standards. We would be getting new computers as of January 2025, both staff and patron computers, and we're generally satisfied with them. The cons.
I'm sorry, Jennifer, are you reading from something that's written here
It's
or?
narrative.
Oh, okay.
I'm happy to share it with you.
No, no, I just didn't want to leap through all the pages here.
Absolutely. Press this out. The cons would be that we've had 2 breaches in the last 5 years with them. They're not particularly cutting edge or innovative in either equipment or support services. And 10 libraries or 25% have jumped ship and gone with outside vendors, whether due to cost or dissatisfaction. In the process of gathering and analyzing quotes, it became clear that just as no 2 artists would paint a bowl of fruit the same way, no 2 vendors will propose the exact same package for IT. This is as close to an apples to apples comparison with what WLS provides as possible. So if I can just get 2 seconds to just go through each vendor. Westchester IT that we can eliminate right off the bat because there's no savings involved. Right Click Solutions is a full service company that's located in Mount Kisco, very customer focused with highly customized recommendations. They sat down and reviewed each and every line item with me, explaining why they recommended it, and I chose what I thought we needed. They have spoken with WLS several times to understand why they set up the way they did. They work solely with small businesses and nonprofits, so they fit our model. My overall impression is that the pricing is competitive. They're small and local, which appeals to me. Very customer focused. They've been extremely diligent, competent, responsive, and have glowing recommendations from local businesses and charities. The only con that I have for them is they do charge for service calls when we call for helpline, $150 an hour in 15-minute increments. They're the only ones that do.
So my next question with
Yes.
Right Click is, do they currently have any libraries?
They do not. No. The next on the list is Logically. That's been a rocky experience. They have been unprepared for meetings. They had the information wrong and had to redo the proposal several times, but this might just be the sales team. Their maintenance team might be fine. They are a large national company based in Chicago, but they have a local presence in Danbury. They work with 3 WLS libraries. That's Bedford, Mount Kisco, and Ossining. And
how
they
do
do the
those
town of,
how have you spoken to those libraries? How?
I have, and I've got comments, tab number 7 in your book. They also do the town of Pound Ridge. You'll see the recommendation from Steve Conti and from Kevin Hansen in the folder in your Google Drive there. Sure.
I have a question. I just didn't have a microphone. On
Absolutely.
Right Click. So my question about Right Click is, I know they're a small local company. How long have they been around? Like, or, is
10,
there
I
an
would
issue-
say 10 years, and
Okay.
they've won the best of their category in the 914 Inc. Awards for the last 4 years.
Okay.
They were given high recommendations by DiBiase Architects and the charity Neighbors Link. So, and again, you'll find both
Okay.
of those in the
And the
folder
town
for
of
that
Pound
vendor.
Ridge uses them.
And the
That I
town
know.
of Pound Ridge uses Logically.
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 No, I was asking about Right Click because Logically is a
sorry.
big
So sorry.
company. So I was just wondering about the small company and the reputation and how long
Yeah,
they've been
I
around.
thought it was worth pointing out the differences
Yeah,
between one
for
is a
sure.
large national, one is a small local. So work with Rose plus the town of Pound Ridge. Nobody had any complaints. You can, again, tab 7 if you want to read the impressions. My overall impression was they're not my first choice based on the interactions so far, but their prices are competitive. And again, just pointing out that they're a large national corporation based in Chicago, but they do have a local presence in Danbury. The next one is Team Logic IT. They're competitively priced. They're full service, highly customized, customer oriented. They work with Marinette. I was not able to reach that director to get her impressions. Overall, diligent, competent, national company with a local presence in Harrison, no charges for service. For Logic or for Team Logic IT, well, again, I point out they are not all recommending the same things. Some are recommending different software, different security, et cetera. So I would really recommend that you take a moment to click on the tabs at the bottom of this main screen to see how it's broken down. I hate when this thing stays in the way like that. Let me just get that out of the way. If you look at Team Logic IT, it's broken down by the equipment purchases, the ongoing, and each one of them are doing that way. So as you can see with right click solutions, for example, everything here in this gray area, that's all security that they're recommending. Whereas some of the other ones are not as robust on the security. Some think that that's overkill. It all depends on who you're, looking at. So just getting back to the master list there. The last one,
Oh, I just have, oh, are we still going through them?
just one more. Sorry, I'll be brief.
No, I'll hold it.
The last one is A1CS. That's A1 Computer Services. They think we've been oversold by the other vendors. They say we don't need the bells and whistles. We are a small company and don't need the excessive security in the other quotes. They recommend, and this is what gives me great pause, the free service from Westchester County, which is CrowdStrike. I worry about you get what you pay for, but they're adamant that this is a fantastic product, et cetera. We would have to buy the computers ourselves or add 10% onto the purchase price. They work with 3 libraries, Katona, Bronxville, and Dobbs Ferry. My overall impression is the prices can't be beat. They're the best, but are they too good to be true is my question. They've got a very customized package, and they designed with Evergreen, which is like our mainframe, the solutions that they're promoting here. So these are very customized for libraries and for us. And again, no service calls or fees. With that in mind, Technology Committee, I didn't hear anything back. Did anyone have questions, concerns, anything they want to point out? Is there any interest in switching? Like the
John?
easiest thing, of course, would just be to stay with WLS, but there are significant savings to consider. If you see here, I put in the first year, we would not realize any savings because there would be an investment for equipment. But in 2026, we would see a significant savings go on to the 5-year projected and the 10-year projected savings. They're very significant numbers.
I mean,
Yeah, look,
Okay.
I think, I think we can make a change. We've been with WLS. I think we've had enough issues with them. We can go ahead and give a change. I think you've researched it and to at least get some equivalent here. My question was going to be, what are you recommending? Because you're going to have to live with it, not us, but what are you recommending? And then also, I guess you answered it on the last one of what does it mean that they did a library or not a library? How impactful is that? If you can just talk to that, is that a big deal or not?
I know that Selena, as the chair of the committee, did ask that we go with ones that have a familiarity with WLS. I don't think it's a deal breaker. I really don't. I don't think there's that much difference between what we do as a library and what another small business does. That they're also connected to a mainframe. Everything is cloud-based anyway. They've spent very much time with WLS talking about why they set up the way they do. Why do we have 2 firewalls, for example? I think that was something that there was a breach, and it looked good to have double, security. None of the other vendors think that we need them. They think that that's overkill. But this is not my area of expertise. Based on the attention that I've gotten and the interactions and all the rest of it, my choice would be to go with right click. I like the idea of staying small and local. They've been extremely responsive as far as all of my questions. And boy, have I had a lot of questions. And sliced and diced and cut and redid and everything. They would be the lowest initial investment as far as equipment. It's the $13,978. No, I'm sorry. The $20,782 number, as opposed to Logically, which is the other one that's a good 32,000. But Team Logic is at 17. That's worth considering too. They've all got their pros and cons. But if you're asking for my opinion, I would prefer to work with right click. But I'm open.
I do find it interesting, however, that A1CS, they work with the county because the county, arguably, like we can assume, right, that they have a lot of sensitive material, arguably more sensitive than a library. And if the county works with them, I do think that's a strong signal.
Not with them directly, but just the county offers CrowdStrike free to.
So they are not a client then.
The
county
other
offers-
thing I would say just about my little reading of some of this stuff was I was interested in what Dobbs Ferry said. Dobbs Ferry said, I'm not happy.
Right.
So there's three libraries using them. Two said, I'm happy, but they didn't elaborate. And one said, I'm not happy at all. So like that worried me about A1CS.
Was this shared prior or is this the first? I'm sorry. Was this like a pre-read before the meeting? Okay, got it. I didn't, okay. Get through
Now,
that.
if you feel you need more time to digest or questions, I can get you on the phone with vendors, that kind of thing. We're not required to sign the SLA with WLS till October 1st, so we could cogitate on it until the September meeting.
I have to say,
but-
because I've read this, this is beyond, for me, this was a lot of information to digest. And we only got the Google Drive this weekend. I think we should hold off till September. And we should all take our little white folders home. And really read it, digest it. I'd like to read all the comments. That's really what I'm interested in.
There
No.
are references.
Yeah, not,
well,
there's
okay,
no
they
library
don't
that
work
uses
with
them.
WLS
Yeah.
libraries, but there are
yeah.
references from the other.
The other thing we should think about before the September, what do we say, 19th meeting, is whether a group of people, obviously the committee, but anyone else that has interest wants to get together and talk about it a little bit. Because we could probably spend hours at that meeting talking through everything that's in here, especially for people that have expertise in this area.
Yeah, all of the vendors have offered to, meet on Zoom or come in or whatever. So
Yeah, that's a good suggestion too. I mean, I'm not an IT czar. I worked with Logically when I was at the town. So we were happy with them. Steve Conti was happy with them and they do have library experience. But again, I'm not the one that has to sit here day in and day out and work with someone. I know Selena's, on the committee. Is anyone else on that committee? I think Mike is.
Yes. So I think we worked together with picking the telephone.
yes,
So I had just a question first, which is the crux of your problem with WLS that we have to lease the computers?
that's what set this whole process off.
Because I mean, I divide up all of this stuff into three things: the equipment, the services that they provide, and the support. So how has WLS been in terms of support and services?
Acceptable, adequate.
Okay. So then we're talking about the question of the cost of the computers versus leasing. And yeah, so
I would add security though, Mike, because I think that was the other issue that Jennifer raised was 2 breaches, right, with WLS.
but yet most of the vendors are saying that's not an issue.
No, one vendor is saying,
No,
One
I thought,
vendor was recommending CrowdStrike as a superior product.
but then the other ones are saying 2 firewalls are not necessary. We have too
Correct.
much security.
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, they're saying we have too much security as it is. So I'm willing to, if right click is where you want to go, let's talk with them. And then let's look at,
Talk
I
with
mean,
all of them if you want.
yeah, no,
I would love to have input on this. I really would.
I think the other people to talk to is WLS and find out why they exactly are the only one, the outliers in terms of leasing computers instead of, hey, we'll buy our computers. Can we still use you? I mean, so.
Well, like we say, the a la carte menu, if we decide we just want to buy our own computers, but stay with you for everything else, that's an option too. That's the beauty of the a la carte. So I would-
That's why I'm
yeah,
asking if
love
that's
to
the
sit
only
down
issue.
You into this with
Yeah.
the committee or with the board.
I think in the note that you sent, you said that no matter what, you'd like to keep WLS for some services,
The Google Mail.
the email that we have.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The Google Mail is the service that I want to keep with WLS. It's the least expensive option. Also, I just wanted to make sure that whoever we go with, that if they're handling our wireless, that they are handling our wireless. I am not going to get into a Verizon phone tree and get bounced around like we did with the phones. That's the deal breaker. So either we're staying with WLS for that, or we're going with somebody who's going to manage it. I'm not taking that on.
Agreed.
With some of these, like the A1CS, if you have someone who's techie in-house, maybe that's a great fit for you because they can pick up some of the slack that they're, not offering. But we just don't have someone on staff that's like that. Or the time to do it.
With WLS, if we buy our own computers, do they still service? Like, will they still service them?
So it would be device support and maintenance.
Okay.
So we would either buy it from them or we would supply our own support or supply our own device and our own support.
And
So
our
it's-
own support.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a problem.
That's a thing.
That's a problem,
Yeah.
actually. So I think going forward, because I'd like to take this home and study, especially the comments. I think, I know Mike and John are on the committee and Selena. I think that we've agreed that they should, set up meetings. If it's right click, some of us has suggested logically, but again, I'm not working with these companies. You are day in and day out. So I think you guys should get together, and anyone else who is tech savvy that wants to join this committee or hop on meetings. So when you guys have meetings, if you just want to send it out through the board, and any one of us can hop on the meeting or come here, whatever they decided, whether it's on a phone conference call or whether it's here in person. I'm just not a tech savvy person like this is. So again, Jennifer Savage, Mary Ellen, and then we'll have the results in October.
Sounds wonderful.
Is that, does that timing
Oh,
work
I'm sorry,
though?
September.
September 19th, whatever.
19th,
I mean, if we
19th.
can make the decision on that date, that will give us time before the October 1 cutoff and plenty of time before the January changeover.
Yeah,
Oh, it's a January
changeover.
changeover.
Yeah, but we have to
Yeah, the
notify them by
SLA we'd be
October,
signing is for 2025.
October 1st. So if we make a decision the 19th, that's plenty of time, September 19th. So I look forward to this, condensed presentation.
But let's just say, Jennifer, thank you. You really did a lot of work in terms of putting this all together. Very, very clear.
Thank you. And you're welcome.
Yeah. And I'm happy to, or as a committee, certainly we can look at it. I just don't want to beat up or turn this into like an IT education session for people that don't do IT. So we can meet with who we want to meet with. Jennifer has to live with it, and I just ask
Yeah.
that we remain at the board level when assessing, these different pieces.
I agree. So, again, they will give us a breakdown in September. If there's no other questions, let's go on to new business. Anyone have new business? No. Public remarks. Maybe Neil would like to talk now. I guess not. I don't know if you guys can read these comments, but Neil has responded to us. He's on the right-hand side. They're hard to read. You can see them. So, yes. Okay, so it's 9:13. So yeah, so that's exciting. And okay, there's no more public remarks. We have no executive session, so I think this meeting's adjourned at 8:48.